Hey guys, welcome back for another video. I'm getting ready for the day, putting on some makeup, so I thought that we would catch up and talk about something that has become increasingly important to me over the last several months, last year. And I feel like, now kind of taking a step back and looking at it, I feel like it's something that should be important to all of us, and that is being selfish. I know this might trigger some of us because we're taught that being selfish is a bad thing and that you should be as giving and generous as possible. However, learning to be more selfish in specific ways has been one of the best things that I've done for myself. And I'm here to tell you that being selfish doesn't have to be a bad thing. In fact, when you use it properly, it can be great not just for you, but for the people around you and the people that you care about. Looking back, I think honestly that I've always been kind of a more selfish person. I wasn't always aware of it, and it certainly got the better of me at times, and that's not good. However, as a more self-aware adult, I will happily and proudly say that I'm selfish. That is my intention. It is my intention to be selfish, and it has helped me in very profound ways. All right, looking a little more alive already. So that's why if you were to look me dead in the eye and be like, Megan, you're selfish, I'd probably say thank you. I'd probably agree with you. You're right, I am. Here's where we need to make an important distinction. A lot of us look at selfish, the concept of being selfish, as putting ourselves first with zero regard for anyone else. In fact, I looked up the definition of selfish on Merriam-Webster, and it says, concerned excessively or exclusively with oneself, seeking or concentrating on one's own advantage, pleasure, or well-being without regard for others. Now, the reason I bring this up is because only one part of this definition is problematic, and that is prioritizing your own pleasure and your own happiness, and by doing that, you're doing things that you know are going to harm other people in some way. That's when being selfish is a bad thing. But putting yourself first, you should put yourself first. You should put yourself first even before your partner and even before your kids. Because if you're not taking care of your own mental and physical well-being, that's where everything ends. You can't do anything else if you're not taking care of your own mental and physical well-being. If you are sick and exhausted and pissed off and stressed, do you think you're going to be able to please your spouse? Probably not. Are you going to be able to crush it at work? Probably not. Are you going to be able to be an awesome parent? Probably not. How could you do those things when you are completely depleted? You have to put yourself first. If for no other reason than your own survival and self-preservation, which is already enough of a reason to put yourself first. Then, if we layer on top of that children, I know it can be difficult to say you should put yourself before your kids. But here's the thing, especially when kids are younger, they literally rely on us for their survival. And I know that's why a lot of parents understandably say that their kids come first in their life. But if you're not taking care of yourself, how are you going to keep your kid alive? But again, I want to say, if we strip away anyone else who could possibly need us, if we remove partners and kids from the equation, you should still put your own needs first because you deserve to be happy. That's enough of a reason right there. You deserve to be happy. There's a saying, you can't pour from an empty cup. It's very corny, but it's very true. You can't give anything if you have nothing inside of you. That's why if you're on a plane, and God forbid something happens and they release the oxygen masks, they always say to put your own mask on first. It's so you don't pass out. Because if you're unconscious, you can't help anyone else. You can't even help yourself. What makes this so tricky is that I feel like, especially in our culture, not that it doesn't happen in other cultures, I can only talk about my own culture, that's why I say that. And, especially with women, giving and giving and giving and giving long after you've run out of anything to give is kind of viewed as heroic. In fact, if you're not completely stressed out and exhausted, it's almost like, are you even trying? Also, we're scared to say no and turn things down. We think that by agreeing with everything and always saving the day, it makes us more likable and more valuable as a human. Very often, all it does is turn you into a doormat. You become a yes person. You become that person that will do anything for anyone, and of course it comes from a good place, and of course some people will really appreciate that quality in you, but others are just going to take advantage of it. And I'm not saying that they're going to do that maliciously. They might be doing it, and they're unaware of it. But when people know that you'll help them with anything and do anything for them, of course they're going to take advantage of it. You have to have boundaries. It's okay to say no. In fact, it's great to say no. And you can do so without making any excuses or apologies, because no is a full sentence. I kind of feel like this goes alongside our obsession with busyness. Busy being being obsessed with being busy, and busyness equaling importance and status and effort. This is a trap that I fall into for most of my life, and these days I have to be very mindful of it because I will fall right back into it. Up until recently, I thought that if I wasn't completely exhausted and obsessed with work, I was slacking. I wasn't trying hard enough. And that made me really good at what I did, and it made me a lot of money, but it also made me incredibly unhappy. I have to work really hard to disconnect my sense of self-worth from how hard I'm willing to work and learn to be more selfish, because what I learned about myself in the last few years is that when I did start to disconnect myself from work, I thought that I was worthless. I felt like I had nothing else that made me valuable as a human being, and that's really bad. I was looking to something outside of myself to make me feel important as a person, and that can't work, because whether it's voluntary or not, there will come a day when work is no longer there to coddle me and cradle me. And there's going to come a day when it's not the focal point of my life. And then what? Then what do I have? The only thing we will always have, guaranteed, is ourselves. So how can being selfish be a bad thing? And guess what? When I started doing this, when I started disconnecting from work a little bit more and learning to look for my own sense of self-worth in me, things almost immediately got better. I'm still working on it. Not perfect, but it's getting better. Also, ironically, my work got better and I started enjoying it more and resenting it less. I was resenting it less because it was no longer making me so miserable. I wasn't relying on it so much to give me life. I was relying more on myself. Is this doing anything? I'm not the best with eyebrows. Did that do anything? Maybe I gotta get a little closer. Yeah, it's good enough. If you are married or you have children, your needs don't go away. You are human. You will always have needs, and you deserve to have those needs met. You deserve to be happy and fulfilled and satisfied. Should we call that selfish? Fine, it is selfish, and it's a good thing. I'm finding this very difficult. It's good enough. But now let's talk about the flip side of being selfish, because I feel like I would be remiss if we didn't touch on this. When does being selfish become a bad thing? Well, it becomes bad when you're doing something that makes you feel good, but you know it makes somebody else feel bad. But even then, we have to be more specific. Let's say that you broke up with someone 3 months ago, and you recently met someone new, and you started dating them, and you really liked them. And this understandably hurts your ex's feelings because maybe they're not over the breakup yet. Should you stop seeing that new person? No. Why? Why would you? If your mere existence, if your mere happiness hurts somebody, then that's most likely an issue with them, not you. Now, if that person dumped you and you decided to get revenge by emailing their boss and telling their boss that they're a drug addict, and that made you feel great, but it cost your ex their job, that's when being selfish is a bad thing. But generally, we need to stop demonizing, I used way too much. We need to stop demonizing the concept of being selfish. I really messed this up. That's all right. We'll make it work. Oh, Lord Almighty, have mercy. Have mercy on my eyelids. What's something that I'm very selfish with? That's an easy one. I am very selfish with my time and energy. You will not waste my time or energy. I used to spend a lot of time doing things that I really didn't want to do to appease other people. Because I felt guilty saying no. I felt bad saying no. And I was worried that if, I put those limits on things, it made me a bad person, because it's always nice to say yes and do nice things for other people, which it is. But where does that end? So I don't do that anymore. Time and energy are finite. Once you spend them, they're gone. You don't get them back. So yeah, I'm going to be strict about that. I don't know how much time I have on this planet, and I'm not going to, prioritize doing things to please other people when they make me unhappy. I feel like even saying that now, there's still part of me that feels like a bad person for saying that, but I don't know why that should be a bad thing. Of course, there are still going to be times that we have to do things we probably don't want to do, maybe because it's just a nice thing to do, or it's the right thing to do, or even if we don't really want to do it, it's the best thing to do. I'm not saying to say no to everything. For instance, I'm a homebody and I'm very introverted, and you could leave me inside my home forever and I could never leave and I would be totally fine. And there have absolutely been times when I was invited out somewhere and I said no because I'm an introvert. I like being home. But then you end up with no friends, no real relationships, and friendships don't happen on their own. You have to invest in them. And I do want friends. Plus, as much as I love being home, and I would say this about anyone like me, it's still good to get out of the house. Even if you don't realize it, staying home all the time is gonna make you a little Debbie Depresso. You gotta get out of the house. It's good to lift your spirits. So I say yes to friends more, bearing in mind that I used to always say no. And you know what? When I hang out with friends, I always have a great time, and I'm always glad I went. It's nice to be with friends. It's nice to make time for them and make time for your relationship. So everybody wins. It comes down to balance. I don't overexert myself, but I certainly push myself a little bit more than I used to, because I never used to push myself at all. And that's why I had no friends. Everyone's version of selfish is going to look a little bit different, because different things make different people happy. I really believe that there's enough room in our lives to put ourselves first, love ourselves first, and become obsessed with worshiping ourselves while still taking care of the relationships that matter most to us. Being selfish isn't about saying, screw everyone else. It's about saying, I'm the most important person in my life. Finding this balance and making peace with prioritizing your own needs might not be easy, and also it might not always work out perfectly. We're all out here doing our best. We all get the same 24 hours in a day. And, I know, especially, I keep thinking of parents. I know parents can't put themselves first every single day. But if you spent, as an example, all week shuttling your kids back and forth to soccer and, extracurricular activities and birthday parties and doing chores and cleaning and cooking and all that, when the weekend comes, it's perfectly okay for you to tell everybody, I need some alone time now. That is one way to find balance. And again, not trying to make it sound easy. I think being a parent is probably the hardest job in the world. And you don't even get paid for it. You don't even get paid. Parents deserve more credit. But I think this is one of the things that we could do for ourselves that would not only make us happier, but they would improve our relationships drastically, because we would be less resentful of people. Our needs would be met, so we'd have much less reason to be angry with other people, and our relationships would get better. You might run into people who kind of talk down to you for this. And if I had to guess, odds are it's going to be the people who benefited from you being a very giving person. The people who love you and want to see you do very well in life will be thrilled to know that you're taking yourself more seriously. They'll support it. And when you have boundaries, even if it's a boundary with them, they'll respect it. They'll respect it with no issues because they're going to understand that you're doing what's best for you. The people who get pissed off when you have boundaries are the ones who benefited from you not having any boundaries. They're going to be the ones who get irritated when you say no or you disagree, but that's okay. If a friend or, someone special in your life is getting angry with you or annoyed that you are taking steps to take better care of yourself, how much can they care about you? Then it sounds like they're being selfish in a bad way because they want something from you that they now know will harm you by giving it. And if they don't care that you're getting harmed in some way, maybe this isn't someone you want in your life. Okay, I think we're about done here. Anywho, all of this is coming from a bigger conversation I've had with myself lately, and I'll have a video on that later. I think I'm kind of going through a life reset right now. I'm definitely in a new chapter, a new phase, a new stage. I'm very much in figuring it out mode. I feel like I make air quotes a lot. But anyhow, the reason this has been so, front and center in my mind lately is because up until very recently, I was completely obsessed with work. And because that was all I really had, and because that's what I used to, I based my own sense of worth as a human on how much work I could produce and how much money I could make. And if you're, I'm 30, how old am I? I'm 35, yikes. And if you're a little younger than me, but you see similar qualities in yourself, like you're an overachiever, you overwork yourself, you sacrifice whatever, sleep, friendships, relationships, whatever, you're willing to sacrifice those for work. If you see any of that in you and you're a little bit younger than me, I'm telling you right now, you could try to fix it now and save yourself a lot of headaches in the future, or you're gonna probably end up in a similar position, where I'm in. And that is down the road, probably not that as far away as you think. You're gonna hit a wall and it's gonna knock you on your butt, and you're gonna realize that you can't obsess over work anymore. You no longer have it in you. And then you're gonna feel like you have nothing because all you did was work. So I encourage you, if I had to give you some friendly advice, look for something inside yourself that's enough to make you happy. And don't rely on any, what's the word? Extrinsic, material stuff, anything that could be taken away from you tomorrow. That's risky business. You have to be enough. And in order for you to be enough, you have to be selfish. Nothing wrong with being selfish. Well, I think this is good enough for today. Not sure what happened with my hair. I tried doing heatless curls overnight. I don't know how I feel about it. Anyhow, thanks for hanging out with me. I love you guys bunches. And drop me a comment and say hello. Bye.